Hello everyone, it's June from Artsy Lilico, and today I will show you a step-by-step tutorial on how to create a realistic watercolor duck wearing a tuxedo, right here on Procreate using our own custom-made brushes created by me. I crafted 16 brushes and 3 unique texture canvases that are going to be available on Etsy for you to purchase. This sketch is going to be available for free, including the color palettes. Both links are going to be down below. If you do find this tutorial helpful, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on that notification so you don't miss a thing. So let's not waste time, grab your iPad, open up your Procreate, and let's get started. For this painting, I will be using the Ridge Small Canvas. To start off, I will be painting the duck's face first. So I like to begin with light colors in the beginning, so I'll choose this light yellow color. And don't worry, all these color palettes will be available. The Layers tab and go to the Paint Here layer. From there, I chose the Wet on Dry brush to start with and kept the size to around 35% and 100 opacity level. Let's get started. For this painting, the light is going to be coming from the right side of the painting, so the light textures are going to be on the right side of the duck, including the tuxedo. So the right side has a lot more light side, so I'm going to start from there. And just follow along just like this. Like with all my watercolor paintings, I like to start with light, midtones, and then dark tones. And then I add them all together, then blend them. This creates a lot of depth and value to the painting. I always like to create a new layer on top of the layer that I already have, and then paint from there. This creates a nice watercolor stain texture that blends a lot easier than layering it on top of each other. So create a new layer now. We're going to go with the mid-tone colors. And I picked a bit darker tone color from here. And I'll paint the inner face of the duck, just like this. Now don't forget the bottom of the neck of the duck as well. I created a new layer for the darkest tone. And I begin with the duck's face where it's close to the nose. And the forehead. And a little bit in the eyes as well. Now I'm going to move on with painting the eyes and the nose of the duck. So I'm going to pick a really dark black color and create a new layer. And I picked the Wet on Dry brush again. And I simply just painted the eyes, leaving a small circle in the middle to get a little bit of a light reflection. And for the nose, I picked the fine line brush to be a bit more detailed and reduce the size to around 10%. And just follow along and paint the nose just like this. Now to give a bit more life into the eyes of the duck, I used a Wet on Dry brush and pick a white color and gave a small light reflection again at the bottom of the eyes, just like this. Now moving along with the duck's nose, I created a new layer and picked an orangey color for the nose, a bit more darker than the face. And again, I start with the light colors. And moved along with a darker tone in the midtones, just like this. And lastly, the darkest tone, creating a new layer, and just on the edges where the corners are, especially under the mouth as well. Now moving on with the body of the duck, since we're already on the face of the duck, we're going to go on the bottom of the duck as well. So same thing, pick the same light color that we used for the duck's face, and we're going to start painting from here. And again, we're going to create a new layer and then just follow along just like this. And again with the midtones. And the darker tones as we get closer to the tuxedo, because there will be a lot more shadows underneath the tuxedo jacket. Now moving towards the feet of the duck, it's going to be a bit more darker with a lot more orange this time. So the same brush, wet on dry brush again. So the light is hitting the right corner, so I'm going to make the light colors on the right side of the feet, just like this. Then create a new layer with the midtones. And we're going to go a little bit to the left side now to the feet. And the darkest tone, which is going to be at the upper part of the duck's feet, because it's going to be right underneath the shadows of the duck. And I gave a little bit more edges of the shadows for the flaps of the feet as well. Now moving along to the tuxedo of the duck, there's going to be a lot of shades of gray and blacks as well. So we're going to start off with the lightest colors as always, and start with the inner shirt of the duck. And don't forget to give a little bit of a shade of color on the sleeves of the duck as well. Now let's move on with the midtones of the tuxedo. Now I'm going to go a little bit darker from what we had before and begin by painting just the corners of where the areas of tuxedo light reflection. Since the light is coming from the right side, the tuxedo light is going to be lighter on the corners of the right, but as well as the inside of the jacket that will be reflecting some of the light as well. And the jacket will have darker tones when it is between the arm and the torso because there will be less light. Now moving on to the dark tone, there will be a lot more darker tones in the corners of the jacket, just like this, and where the wrinkles of the jacket will be. Especially when the arm bends, that's going to be a lot more darker. And I left a little bit more lighter tones in the pocket area because I'm assuming the duck's hands are going to be in there and it's a bit protruding out, which will be giving a little bit more reflection of the light. Let's not forget about this cute bow tie as well. The bow tie, I just simply layered over again where the dark parts will be where the wrinkles are in the middle. Now just paint the buttons in the middle, just like this. Now I gave a little bit more darker tones within the jacket inside the shirt because there's going to be a lot more darker shadowing in there as well. With the tuxedo, I created another layer of darker tones. Now this is going to be the darkest tone, and it's going to be where the most of the corners are, just like the shoulders, between the armpits, and as well as the pocket area and the inner jacket. And if you are enjoying these tutorials, please comment down below and let me know if you have any questions that you want me to clarify, and I'll respond to all of them. Now is the time to start blending the colors. Now go to your layers tab and begin combining the layers that you have created now, such as the face, anything that needs to be combined, like the duck's nose, the body, and so on, by simply using your 2 fingers and pinching the layers that you want to combine. Now I have the moving blender size around 15 with 100% opacity, and use a motion of wavy left and right and up and down motion just like this to blend them nicely. Now moving along to the duck's nose, and just follow along just like this and blend them easily. Now moving to the belly of the duck as well as the feet, and just start weaving motion just like this, blending them easily. And the duck's feet by combining them all again now, and the same motion that we used before. And we're going to start blending the tuxedo. Same method, waving motion, using the moving blender. And all we're trying to do is just simply mix the colors in, blending them nicely. And we can use the regular blender later on to get more details. Now while using the moving blender in the jacket, I like to go towards the direction where the jacket lines will go through, where the wrinkles will be. Just like the area between the arm and the torso, where the jacket wrinkles in, I go up and down motion from there. And I did the same thing with the left side of the jacket. Now use the regular blender, and we're going to reduce the size to around 15%. And again, go with the direction where the wrinkles of the jacket would be. For example, in the wrinkles of the shoulders and the arms. And I'm pushing out the dark tones to blend nicely with the lighter tones, because the tuxedo is a bit darker. Now we're going to add some more details to the duck's face, but before we do that, we are going to reduce the opacity of the sketch to make it more transparent. As we go through the process of painting, I like to reduce the opacity of the sketch because we don't really need the sketch anymore. Now use the fine line brush. We're going to add some details to the face and give a bit more fuzzy look by brushing out some of the fur from the duck. And I'll show you how. Now using my finger, I'm going to hover over some of the darker parts of the duck and use the same tone color on the fur. And just like this, I'm using the fine line brush to add a bit more texture at the edges of the duck's face to make it a little bit more fuzzy. And don't forget under the chin of the duck. And also we're going to add a little bit more texture in the face of the duck by creating a few lines just randomly across the face to give a bit more texture, especially the wrinkles of the eye. And when adding fine line details in the darker tone area, I like to use the same dark tone area as well with the fine line brush. And don't forget about the mouth of the duck, creating some lines just like this. And I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom part of the duck, creating some feather-like fur fuzzy look, just like this. And I also added some flap textures as well on the feet. And moving towards the jacket, I'm going to start with adding some lines of the dress shirt that the duck is wearing. Just small lines up and down here, using a darker shade of gray. And the same thing, I'm going to add some lines to give a bit more texture and some depth in the jacket as well. And adding some wrinkles using a darker shade of black here as well. Now moving along, I'm going to add some more shadows by creating a layer and picking a dark blue tone color using the smooth brush, and reduce the opacity to around 5%. And we're just going to add some shadows underneath the tuxedo as well as the face, just like this, where the chin is and underneath the duck's nose. And here I'm going to add some more shadows underneath the tuxedo because there are going to be a bit more shadows underneath the feet as well as the jacket. Now I want to create a shadow underneath the duck, so I'm going to move this layer that I created all the way down to the bottom behind all the layers that I've created, and just create a small line across the shadows of beneath the duck. The same thing, I'm picking a dark blue tone color, and I simply create a small shadow area underneath the duck. Once that's done, I'm going to finish it off by using the regular blender and blending out the edges a bit to give a bit more blurry look, because I want to keep the focus on the duck, not the shadows or anything else at this point. Now we're almost done, but I want to add a little bit of gouache white layer. So I'm going to pick the gouache layer at the top and pick the white tone and the gouache brush, and I'm going to add some textures of white on the duck's nose as well as tuxedo. And the duck's nose is going to have a little bit of light reflection. And the tuxedo will also have a shiny look by adding some white texture as well, where the light reflection will be on the right side. And there you have it. All we have to do now is remove the washi tape by going to the washi tape layer and picking the layer that you have. And then you can pick any brush that's big enough, but I use the oil brush that comes with the default brushes of Procreate, and just follow along the lines and erase, just like this. And there you have it. Realistic duck wearing a tuxedo, also known as Duckxedo. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please comment down below. And as always, have a wonderful day.